So for the last decade or more, the 997 price tag has been the go-to price to charge as a course creator or coach looking to build out a signature program. And it's probably been responsible for making hundreds of thousands of millionaires within the information space. But in 2026, I think it's died. In fact, I think the entire midsection of between, say, 297 up to 997 has completely died. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what's changed and what we need to focus on moving forward in terms of what is working and why. You see, for the last sort of 12 years I've been online, the 997 was always what people were selling, especially when ClickFunnels and funnel builders came out. Being able to automate basically $1,000 without having to book a call or, have a strategy call or try to sell it to people. You were able to automate it through webinars or funnels and so on. So people made a lot of money, but that same playbook is basically not working anymore. I've actually tested this myself across the last couple of years and it's just never worked well. And I tried it again recently and it just didn't work. It didn't sell. It was apathy. Nobody was interested. So the old playbook and what really worked incredibly well was some form of webinar funnel on autopilot that was selling a standard signature program, maybe with some degree of support, but people were offering very, very little. And this midsection, and I used to, when I had an ad agency, sell a lot of programs for around that 297 up to 497 price range. And it was just a sweet spot and it would automatically roll out, almost selling as much as low ticket was. And it was just an absolute money bank because you could push ads into it and be really, really profitable. So probably getting at least a 50% return for every single sale. So you could just push more and more money into the system and just absolutely make bank. So this used to absolutely smash it. And I think it's why I keep reminiscing and wanting to go back to that. It's why I perhaps keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, which is obviously the definition of insanity. But the old playbook is no longer working. So that is probably not working unless you're really, really, really good at webinars. So direct to sale for that type of amount, I don't think is working anymore. And as I said, I recently tested it again for a $500 amount on the Skool platform. It was coming not from a webinar, but coming from a free Skool community that was then going directly through to a free trial where I was offering a huge amount of great value things. So again, thinking I could stack on the value and additional call and so on, and that people would just naturally upgrade to this because 500 is not that much. And nothing happened. Nobody bought. Lots of viewers, lots of people hitting the page, and zero sales. Now, if I did something similar, and I was often in the past of promoting my high ticket service and getting people to book a call, I would actually have made way more sales. I would actually have made a lot more sales compared to this low ticket amount. So this mid ticket amount, shall I say. So this is really, really strange that I couldn't, even coming from warm traffic, I couldn't sell that mid ticket range. And so as I said, I even knew that it potentially wouldn't work, but for some reason, I just thought if I offered more and more opportunity to try things and so on, that maybe it would work. So it didn't matter how much I actually gave, how much I made it a no-brainer offer, how much I gave a free trial and so on. It basically didn't really make any sales. Not really. And definitely not as much as if I was selling something more expensive, which blew my mind completely. So trying it over and over was a definition of insanity, and I'm not going to be doing that again. But I've noticed this anecdotally among many of my clients as well. And it's not to say that sometimes an annual upgrade won't sell. So if you're thinking on the Skool platform where maybe someone came in at monthly and then later on they upgrade to a mid-ticket annual, they've already been trying it. If they know they're going to be staying for a long time, then it just makes sense from a financial point of view. And that is an easier sell. I'm talking about sort of warm, direct traffic here. And it's just not converting at the way it used to. And what has killed it, we already know, is AI. So AI has made information basically incredibly cheap, and people no longer just want that information. Just wading your way through a course obviously is not interesting to people anymore. And it's not even just that, it's how you acquire the information. People don't even want to learn so much. They want to learn as they go. They want the information at their fingertips as they go. They want implementation. They want accountability. They want direct feedback. They want more access to you. And if anything, we're seeing a rise of coaching, not a diminishing amount of it. So for a long time, coaching was really the go-to thing. Then we had the funnel era, and we all tried to automate everything to death with courses. And now we're moving back into more of a coaching era again. So everything's gone full circle, but mainly thanks to AI. So it actually means that that mid-range is basically gone. It's very, very difficult to sell. So what is replacing it? Well, basically, I like to think about this very much like a barbell at the gym. And you can tell I was thinking about this analogy while I was at the gym this morning. So we've got the dead weight in the middle here. So this basically the no man's land in the middle, which is your sort of mid area in terms of pricing. It's dead now. And basically everything, all the weight is at one of each of the ends. And that is low ticket or high ticket. So low ticket still kind of works, but especially people are pushing towards subscriptions more, is why we've seen the rise of many communities. You've got Skool, obviously. I recommend Skool, and if you would like more training and more help on that, I will add links to our group incubator and other resources in the video description just below. But these platforms, you've also got other ones, such as I think WOP, and there has also been Stand Store, and lots of different low ticket tools that are really popping up for people to use in their bios, in their social media, in their channels, and so on. So we're seeing the rise of the sort of community subscription model in terms of low ticket. But then we're seeing the rise, as I said before, of the coaching part. More people wanting high ticket implementation. More people wanting the right version. They're overwhelmed with information now as well. So they're getting too much information from social media, too much information from AI, and they just want, if they've got the money, to pay for someone to help them through it all. So implementation, accountability, and extra support at the top here. But it's all about access, and it's all about information now that is more tailored to them. So a course alone, we know that's not going to work anymore. But it's also in the lower end, more continuity. So low ticket or high ticket seems to be where we're at. So it's pushing people to both ends. The information industry has gone and just sort of thinned out like a barbell in the middle. So we've got low ticket, as I said, and then high ticket done with you, or even in some cases done for you, with 997 really being the bare minimum for high ticket. So you really need to be almost selling with a call, or as you get more proof and authority, still more higher touch points, Loom videos, and so on. So why the middle fails? What happened with my example is basically when I did it, although there was interest shown, it wasn't interesting to the low ticket and the free people at all, because it was still too expensive for them. So they weren't going to buy. Even if some of them could see the value in it, they weren't going to buy. So therefore, it wasn't of any interest to them. And then the high ticket people, they want more implementation, more support, more direct contact. They want to be having more one-on-one time with me, more access. So because they didn't get that from the mid-ticket, they weren't interested either. So therefore, it didn't please anyone. It didn't please the low-ticket free people, and it didn't please the high-ticket people. So therefore, it was worthless. Now, we could argue that mid-ticket for one niche might be different to another. And if the information is very valuable and it's something I charge $100,000 for, but then $1,000 may be seen as low ticket within that industry. So yeah, I mean, that's all relative, but it's the mid part of your industry in particular. But let's just assume low ticket means below 100, basically. It's below 50 potentially even. So it's too expensive for the low crowd, not enough for the high crowd. And the exception, as I said, may be if you've got heavy proof, you're very good at webinars and so on. So therefore, it's easier to move them through. So for example, Alex Hamosi, he could sell just about anything he wants, and there'll be people that are going to buy it at probably any price. But I would still argue that some prices would sell better and some wouldn't. So then we've got the low ticket. So low ticket, the benefit of having low ticket is that it builds up like salary income. So it's hands off, but it also needs volume. So if the average low ticket is converting around 2 to 5%, let's say 3 being the average, then it's going to have to compound a lot. And you're going to have to be thinking about the churn rate, such as if the average person only stays 3 to 4 months, then you know that you're going to have to be adding more people than you're losing to be able to get that to compound and scale over time. So it is going to take a long time to build that out. And if you've got volume, then obviously that's going to compound much quicker. And what I like to think about in terms of these different barbells, so if we go to high ticket, the difference is going to be much faster money. So from a smaller number of people, you're going to get, let's say I make out of 100 people, make one sale, 1%. If that's a $1,500 sale, I'm going to get a lot more money a lot faster. Simple, but there's no compounding money there potentially, as it's probably one time. So it's beneficial for low volume, but it also costs you a lot of time. So you lose your time, which for many is not what they want. And this is where these different dumbbells come in. If I was in the gym and I was working my arm with one dumbbell, that muscle here is going to get bigger real fast. But if I use a dumbbell and I was potentially going to do both low ticket and high ticket, then I'm going to be doing a big compound exercise that's going to work my entire body, but I'm not going to see the results as quickly. But long term, I might actually get better results. And that's what happens when you do both together. So you may just want to do low ticket if you've got the volume. You may want to do high ticket if you don't have the volume. Or you may want to be more patient with a low ticket. Or, as I said, you may be willing to gradually compound it over time by doing both. And the benefit of doing both potentially, although more risky in terms of initial income, you will make more than just doing low ticket with a small audience. So a small audience just doing low ticket, never really a good match, unless it's something that's people are going to stay for a long time, so it's still going to compound. But you're going to be waiting a long term time to make enough money. And just doing high ticket, obviously you've got nothing compounding, but you're going to make faster money. So the combination of both is going to be the middle area that we've kind of lost. You're going to get something that's going to compound, and you're going to get some fast money, but not as much as if you were doing free to high ticket. But the benefit of this is that this becomes a bit like your salary. So the high ticket fills the gap as this starts to compound and grow. So if you've got a good audience and a good amount of people coming in and you can gradually scale the low ticket, well, as the numbers increase, they're generally never going to be that interesting until you're sort of reaching 100 plus people inside the community. So if you can gradually get, say, 10 people each month, then you can maybe make at least one times a high ticket sale each month. Then you're able to supplement the money that you're not making from the low ticket in the short term. But if you then go on holiday or whatever else, and you're not working with high ticket clients, you're still getting paid from your community. So that's the benefit of doing both. So basically, pick your weights. And if you've got a free group or you've got some free form going into it, and that's something for an entirely different video. And again, if you would like more help on deciding the right model for your business and the right setup, then I will link to our group incubator and different resources in the video description. But essentially, free is just the door into it. You are always going to need a decent traffic source and a good way to get people through the door in the first place to be able to sell them low and high ticket. So free tier is just the doorway, whether it be a free community or your channel is acting as the free community itself. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you going to go high? Are you going to go low? Or are you going to go both? And as always, if you want more help, as I said, you can join our incubator by clicking the link in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.